Hello and welcome to another episode of Champions of Inspiration. I'm excited about today's show because not only are you going to learn a lot, so am I, because my guest today is got a phenomenal resume that, quite frankly, I didn't realize all of it until I was doing some research. He's a CEO, an advisor, a board member who has a deep passion for building online customer experiences that truly delight and define markets. Don't you think we need more of that? Welcome, Victor Cho, to the show today.
Scott, such a pleasure. So happy to be here.
Well, thanks so much. You are the driving force behind Emovid, which is a fabulous tool, and I've been using it for a long time, and now using it even more. Tell us a little bit about Emovid. Let's set the foundation so everybody understands the project you're involved in today.
Sure. No, I am more excited about what I'm working on now than my entire 30 plus year career in technology. Maybe I'll just start with the problem we're solving. I think everyone that's listening probably understands that AI is permeating every aspect of society. It is probably the most incredible technology we'll ever make as a species. Hopefully, it won't be the last. No, I am not an AI doomsayer. But I do see the negative dimensions of what we build, especially in technology, because that's my career. And so it's very clear to me. Actually, when I first saw AI, it was clear to me digital communication was going to go to hell in a world of AI. You would no longer be. It would get so good that you wouldn't know whether a communication you got was written by an AI or someone else, whether it was an AI video. These videos are getting so now. If you guys have seen the deep fakes, you can't even tell what's real, what's not. And so you think about how we communicate. If we're in person, that's great. I can trust you. But outside of that, like this idea that truth in communication was going to get destroyed was crazy to me. And it was very clear. I've always been lucky I can see the future. I'm like, we need a way that we can communicate that verifies human communication in this new world that's not real time, right? Of course, if you're real time, it's like, yeah, like right now, I know that's you, Scott. I guess you could be in it. You could be an avatar, but
I
probably
could
not.
be.
It could be, but like all the emails, all the text, like all the communication. So that's at a high level, that's what Emovid is. It is the world's first verified human communication platform that works non-real time. I call it asynchronously.
I think that's what's so fascinating about it, and I've shared this with you a little bit in some of our communications prior, but I have been a fan of video emails um, since the first ones came out many, 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 many years ago, very poorly when you didn't have enough bandwidth for either side to have it work.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I've had that much experience with it over time. But the reality is communication consists of the words,
hmm,
the tonality behind the words, and the physiology, the
yes,
facial expressions, the gesturing behind it all. So communication is really a three-part harmony. And what we've lost so much in emails and text, that's why we came up with emojis, trying to add tone to words. Um, I wish I came up with now that I think about that, I wish I was the guy who came up with the emojis, but I didn't. The point is the concept was there to help
yeah,
try to increase communication, and that's why I'm so fascinated with the developments of what you've done with Emovid. And I love the fact that you're really tying the trust factor in to video messaging. Where did that all come from? Is that was that a common sense thing, or was that a holy cow, we really need to do this for humanity thing?
no, it's so right before Emovid, I was the CEO at the online invitation company called Evite, which hopefully a lot of people have received. So we touched probably around a third of the U.S. population. And we ended up actually having a transaction for that business, which was good for all the investors. And I literally I stopped and wanted to decide like what am I going to do? I call it the back half, even though I'm way old. I think I'm way older than I look, hopefully. But I call it what am I going to do in the back half of my career? And I know you and I share this ethos, which I love, which is like you should be out doing good in the world, right? If you've got a platform like you have, if you've got any means, right, to influence, then like, why don't you use that for the betterment of society as opposed to being a mercenary and just trying to suck as much out of it? And so that's always been my drive. And it was just super clear to me that this moment of AI was going to create probably some of the biggest businesses ever, but also it was going to have some of the worst second order effects if we didn't have responsible tech leaders. So now going back to your question, from day one, our purpose hasn't changed, which is how do we build a it's funny, it's like a contradiction. Because we use AI. It's like, how do we build using AI a technology that can offset one of the worst side effects of AI, which is we won't be able to communicate with each other authentically. So no, from day zero, it was part of the equation. And then now going back to your comment on on video mail, it's so fascinating because I completely agree. Right, if you think about the formats of communication, you know, in person, video is so much more compelling. And yet, if you think about the way we communicate asynchronously, video is almost 0%. You know, there's 5 billion emails that are sent an hour in business. It's a crazy number. Percentage of it that's video enabled is like super tiny. In a weird way, this moment of AI is there's a positive dimension, which is you need to use video to verify humanity. Like there's no other this is my strong point of view as chief product officer here, right? The Because AI is so good, like the only way you can verify that the message you're sending to me, Scott, is if I can record that real time, knowing that it's you, verify that's not an AI, right? Ensure your camera's on, it's not a fake camera. From there, the world is open, right? Now that I know that's a trusted communication, I can send it to somebody in video, I can send it in audio, I can even just send a transcript. You know, I think when you and I go back and forth, a lot of the times we'll just read the transcript, right? But we know that wasn't an AI generated transcript, right? That came out of the mouth of Scott or the mouth of Victor. So yeah, it's this weird world where we're gonna go to a place where not a lot of people were using the technology, but we have to do it in order to override the AI um, taint, for lack of a better term, that's in communication.
I think that it's a fascinating thing as you were sharing that. Again, I think my first, uh, video email service that I explored was probably 2003,
Mm,
2004, something like that, and there literally wasn't enough bandwidth to push it. If you might have I might have thought it was cool, but when I sent it to somebody, they were like, "You just crashed my entire system. Thanks a lot,
that's
dude."
right. That's right.
You know, "Thanks for trying to crush my business." Whereas, again, in what you were saying, I mean, there's so many different great nuggets there. There's not a doubt as a sales guy, a sales trainer my entire career, I train that it's all about trust.
Yes.
The
Yes.
reality is that people do business with those they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
Ultimately, it's trust. If they don't know you, they don't like you. If they don't like you, they don't trust you, but they have to trust you to do
Mhm.
business. So it's very interesting that where Emovid is in this. I love the fact, quite frankly, that you are verifying trust.
Yes.
My moniker is the authentic connector. Why?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's about authentic relationships,
Yeah.
which are built around trust. One of the things I train and share all the time is you need to build relationships ahead of the need for
Yes.
having the relationship,
Yes.
which means you have to have trust built, and I think I'm kind of circling back to where I was going. The pandemic or the fact that we were forced into video conferencing to a certain extent to have human interaction for a period of time
Hmm.
is actually giving rein to this possibility of using video emails,
Hmm.
and then you've already taken it the next step to building the trust factor in there or the verification of the trust
Yeah.
factor. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, no, it's funny when we first kicked off the company, we toured around with like, how do we describe what we're building? Because it really is, it may appear when you get it like, oh, this is kind of a video email, but it's really this much more complex, yeah, human verified recording, and then a multimodal, I like, weird geeky terms like multimodal delivery. So the video, the audio, transcript, translation. So it's kind of this magic thing where you get it and you get to consume it. This was part of the problem of early video email, right? It's like if you send a 5-minute email video to someone, you force them to watch it. But in our model, it's like, no, 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 I can watch it if there's an important thing that I need to see and I need to build connection, but I can also just read it. And so you have the recipient basically has no downside in receiving, it's only upside because they get right more verification, they get verification of humanity and they get multimodality. The sender also has all positive benefit because most people don't know this, but the average person only types like 30 words a minute, right? But you speak, 3 to 4 times faster than that. So it's actually faster to record and send than it is to type. And so
I love
it's this win-win-win. And so,
yeah.
but to your point, yeah, I don't think it would have been possible if COVID hadn't happened, number one. And I also don't think this product wouldn't be the right time if it weren't this world of AI where you're getting this train wreck of trust degradation in AI written, AI modified content. I'm sure you've gotten this guy like even emails, right? You get an email, you're like, oh, that seems really nice. 2 years ago, it would have been like, wow, that person took time to really craft something. And now it's like, oh yeah, that looks kind of like a chat GPT query. So like how much trust am I building? How much relationship am I building?
I think that that's one of the lessons that I shared with one of my clients in their audience not too long ago in a training aspect was, I had an entire sales force sitting in front of me that was afraid of AI. And I said, "You wanna AI proof yourself as a sales professional? It's simple. Become more human."
Yeah. Yeah.
The attribute that we have available to us is humanity,
Yes.
is compassion, empathy, understanding, appreciation for somebody's situation, right? We
Mhm.
have all these possibilities. The question is, do we tend to do that? And again, that's what, um, when I first I looked at how long I've been sending Emovids now. It's quite some time, actually.
Yeah, no,
It
you're one of our top customers. I love it and
Well,
appreciate
thank
you for
you,
that.
the but I have once I recognized even more of the attributes that you've added to the
Yeah.
product, and the product's fabulous,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it's I can't tell you how many, um, w I talk about differentiation all the time,
Mhm.
and, if there's 2 sales guys, what makes one better than the other? Differentiation.
Yeah.
What attributes are they adding to the situation? And you're right, as far as being able to, put out the number of emails or the number of connections or the whatever. I can go to a networking meeting, come back with a stack of cards, and I boom, boom, boom. I create a video, I fire it, and all of a sudden everything is there.
Mhm.
I don't have to think through and correct. And even if I stumble a little bit as I'm
Yeah.
doing the video, guess what that's called? Being human,
Yes,
right?
no, exactly. It's that's exactly right. It's so funny. I don't know why so many of the technology leaders, I mean, maybe they're like hyper introverted and they're super uncomfortable interacting with people, but it's just crazy to me that we have this whole group of leaders that are basically saying like, "Oh, human interaction is messy and inefficient. So we're just going to get rid of it completely, right? And we're going to have systems do it and it's going to be a beautiful world." And I'm like, that's true for a very small subset of things that we do, but you're talking about trying to move that interaction needle like way past the point of trust building, right? Of
Right.
verification, etc. And I won't name the company because well, we partner with them. There was one of the large trillion cap companies, and I was doing a keynote literally about this topic, of like the importance of of trust and verification,
Yeah.
being human.
Yeah.
And so I gave my presentation, and then right after that, this executive comes up, and literally their pitch was, "Oh, it's so exciting. We're building agents. Like in the future, you won't even have to argue with your husband or your wife. Like your agent is going to negotiate that argument with their agent." Like, how exciting is that? And I thought it was a joke. I was like, "Are you serious? Like, that's your pitch? Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
like, marriage is so
It
uncomfortable that we're gonna
uh,
delegate that to her." I'm like, "What crazy world are you in?"
one of my superpowers or blessings or giftings or whatever is messaging.
Yeah,
And people don't even realize when they say something as obscure as that. And so crazy if you think about it. And I actually go the other way. And one of the things that I share is there's 8.5 billion people on the planet, and I'm pretty sure they've all figured out how to make more. I
mhm.
don't think that's stopping, right? We're not gonna stop being human beings. And
Yes.
so if you truly wanna differentiate yourself at this point, you have to become more human. You have
Yes.
to take on the empathy, the compassion, the caring. My brand is heart-centered selling.
Yeah.
It's not intellectual or tactical, it is heartfelt, relational, strategic. Quite frankly, I don't ever wanna sell anybody anything, but I do always want them to buy a lot from me.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that makes it makes it my responsibility to create the message that will allow them to understand that they will benefit by making that decision.
Yeah.
And that again, it's why I love Emovid and what's going on because I'm figuring out all sorts of different ways to share messages that are serving more people with it
Yeah.
very quickly and duplicatable,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, I was talking to you well, you were on the email string too with some of your engineers on the merge, and, they were so fabulous in the way that they handled my question. They didn't even call me a name or nothing. I mean, it was very nice. No, they were great about it, and but then they said, "But have you looked at this feature?" And I went, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't even know it was there. So I need some I need some learning on the product. But
Yeah.
the point is that there's so many great aspects to it that then can be taken to humanize the thing. If we want to reduce bottom line or top line or bottom line, we want to reduce expense so that we don't have to travel as much and we don't have to do this as much
Yep.
and we can save those things we can humanize our communication in such a way that that's where our offset becomes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so excited about this, because I see where it can be put in the marketplace to serve so many people.
Yeah. No, no, I love that, Scott, and you're definitely a visionary, right? I do think it we're definitely in that kind of early adopter stage, right? We're the more visionary users, the ones that are concerned about the right things in my mind, right? They're thinking about how do they maintain this kind of trusted communication in this new world. But oh yeah, yeah. For the audience, just a quick description. It was clear to me, and I'm chief product officer again, that any solution that was asynchronous basically needed to work like email. And so that was our guiding principle is a system that can deliver. Now we live on top of any system, so you can embed us in an email, et cetera. But also we kind of work standalone. And so what Scott was describing is, if any of you guys have sent a BCC email, you can now do a BCC human verified video where I could send, and I do this all the time. Like I could send a video out to 1,000 people saying like, "Hey guys, can you give me some feedback on this thing?" And I could get hundreds of now verified, emotive, right? I know these are not bots, these are not AIs, these are real people giving me feedback. They can't see each other's feedback, so for them, it literally feels like this one-on-one conversation. We're in a room, but I can do that with 100 people. So, yeah, to your point on scalability, yeah, it's actually kind of crazy. One of the biggest changes I had to make, I don't know if you found this, is my mind wasn't used to having so many deep interactive moments in parallel because I probably have like 50 or 60 threads. Like before, it was if it's actually hard to do that in real time,
Yeah.
but you can now do that. You can now have that running over asynchronous, which actually takes a tiny bit of adjustment in a good way. But
No,
no,
I
you're
agree. You know, I
exactly
mean,
right.
I think, like I said, we can bring the human aspect back into it. I'm a proponent of live events. I was blessed. I've done over 3,000 live events as a professional speaker on
Wow,
stage.
that's amazing.
Um, having 25,000 in the round in an arena is cool. And if
Yeah.
anybody says that it's not, they're lying because it's cool. That being said, that doesn't happen very often these
Yeah.
days. And so to replicate the human interaction, I'm a true believer that we need to be face to face as much as we
Yes.
possibly can.
Yes.
But face to face had gotten so arduous. It just got to be painful
Mhm.
almost. And that's where this, I think, is a great adder to being able to share messages. Again, I'm a big proponent of all three.
Yeah.
I teach the communication model:
Yeah.
words, tonality, physiology. Hi,
Yeah.
hi, hi. Same word, totally different
Yes.
communication because you add all the componentry, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and quite frankly, I think that's we have so lost that as a society. In fact, when the whether it was the US health or worldwide, when they said shelter in place and social distance, I created a video that day that said, "I absolutely refuse to social distance.
Awesome.
Now, I
Awesome.
will physical distance if
Yes.
that is what is the safest from a health standpoint, but we are human beings, we are
Yes.
social beings. I'm gonna increase my social game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to more people more often,"
Yeah.
right? And
That's
and
right.
that's what I think, again, I don't mean to be fawning over your offering,
Oh, no,
but
please. No,
but
I love.
but it is I have found it to be so fascinating. It would number 1, it's fun. It's fun just to be able to have a
Yeah.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
And send that as an email. But the other side of it is I think it so differentiates people. And again, let's take a look at the total market. If there are 8.5 billion people on the planet, do we have to win them all?
Mhm.
Why don't we just win a lot of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To being able to be more human and more social
That's right.
again.
That's right.
Doesn't that make sense?
No, absolutely. And was something, that your 3 levels of high is awesome because it's one of my the nemesis, one of the industry segments that I like to bash a lot. Not in absolute terms, because there are some use cases where it's valuable, but there are some where it's horrible. And this is this idea. There are companies out there that are making AI solutions where you will take text and a photo of yourself, and it will try to animate an avatar of you.
Yeah.
Now, this technology can be super useful for certain things. Um, where in my mind, where it's useful is where you will never have a human being, and you're trying to add some humanity to a product. So the best example of something that I've heard is like, oh, like, hey, we're building a medical device that's trying to make you a little bit more calm as you're about to get this crazy procedure, and we're going to create an avatar of someone who's trying to talk to you and right make you feel a little better. And so they're building in this human in a way that would just never be possible, right, with real humans. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of a cool use. The horrible use is when people are saying like, "Oh, you can avoid having to interact with like we're gonna put an avatar version of Scott in front of someone, and it's gonna go text to video." And the reason that that is horrible is that high 3 levels of high, right? How you communicate to somebody is not just the word. It's not just the words in the sentence. It's the context. It's who that person is. It's your
Right.
history with that person, right? And so I'm like, no, this is horrible. We're gonna create a soulless version of a human being emoting literally at the average of humanity, because that's all it's doing. It's like, oh, based on this sentence, I think this is the emotion I should show, and I'm going to project that into this. It's like, no, this is terrible. So I tell people like, never ever send like a fake avatar of yourself like as a proxy for you. Like that would be a horrible thing to do. Um,
Yeah, I agree. The thing it's interesting you're going down. One of the things, again, I coach and I train is don't ever send an email unless you've read it 2 ways. Read it with the emotion that you fully intended when you
ooh,
typed it,
yes.
and then read it as if somebody just kicked your dog. And if they can add negative emotion to it, uh, or if you can add negative
Uh,
emotion to it, so can they.
that's
And
great advice. That's great
and
advice.
well, in because it's again, I'm a messaging guy.
Yeah.
I suggest that people start talking at a fifth grade level. Not, I'm pretty sure, Victor, you can understand past a fifth grade level. Pretty sure of that, just looking at
Mhm.
your resume. That being said, if there's ever anything I say at a fifth grade level that you want to be more technical, you'll say, hey, can you give me more technical?
Yeah.
And then that can be done. But if you start too technical and you talk over the top of somebody,
Mhm.
basically they go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. You ready to take action? Uh-uh. Why not? Well, it's just not right for me. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. You
Yeah.
had no clue what you said.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love our conversations, because you're uh, a pretty technical guy, but you've always shared in such a way that it's been easy for me to consume. And that's really, it's not the presenter's language that it's important. It's we got to speak in the receiver's language.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, I think that that's what becomes so available here. That's why I'm really fascinated by by the the stuff, and we're going to talk about your missions too,
Yeah.
because I, I didn't know a lot of this until I started researching, getting ready for this interview. And you and I are more closely aligned than I think we know,
Oh,
which
that's great.
I think is really cool, right? Um, but
And the other
again, I
crazy
think
thing, Scott, is now I'm trying to think, like I feel like I know you, right? And you know me. Is this the first have we only had Emovid interactions?
yeah,
I think that's right, right? It's a great exact so for the folks on the call, Scott and I, like, I feel like he's a friend that has been built over asynchronous video in a way that, like, I've got to stop and think, like, wait, have we not been in a room together? Like, oh no, yeah, we
no,
haven't been
no,
physically in a room.
we've
I
never
was like,
been in
wait,
a
have we
room
not been in a
together,
Zoom?
and I don't
I don't
think
think
we've
we've been
had
in a Zoom together.
no, we've never been on a even a video call
Yeah.
together, other than the Emovids
Yes.
going
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah. This was one of the big validations before I really could jump in and say, like, yes, this is going to work. It was I had that moment with another individual at a conference where I ran into him, and I felt like it was like running into an old friend. And oh, great seeing you again. He's like, we've
Well,
never met. I was like, what?
again,
I was like,
that
oh, you're right. I was like, it was all those Zoom calls. He's like, nope, strike
well, that's
two.
what I think is so fascinating about this. I really do, because my the way that I build we took one of my clients from 8 million to 100 million in about 5.5 years. The way we did it is we put in communication,
Yeah.
face to face, personal communication, treating people with respect, honor, and dignity. Novel concept, huh?
Yeah.
And people are going like, "Oh, oh my God, Scott, you're a boomer. How could you possibly work?" Trust me. Let me go back to the point. 8.5 billion people. They've figured out how to make more. We are human beings. We need to be social beings. X's, millennials, Z's don't want to learn this communication. God bless you. Enjoy life.
Yep. Yep.
Those who do,
Yes.
if you want to expedite, that means grow faster. if you want to expedite your careers and your relationships and everything, there's a way of doing it. It's
Yeah.
called being human.
Yeah.
Respect, honor, and dignity. That's been my platform for the 25 plus years I've been a professional speaker. Is respect is how I treat you. Honor is how I lift you up. When we do that well between us, dignity comes into play. This shouldn't be that hard. We can solve a lot of the world's issue if we just would respect, honor, and dignify each other.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Amen. Amen. Oh my God. Reminds me, I recently, so I also have my own podcast, and last month I did what I call a talking head version, which was it was not an interview. It was just me giving a presentation, because I do a lot of speaking. I know you do as well. But one of the topics I've been speaking on is, what do the kids learn? Like, what skills do they build in this world of AI? And I'll send you a link if that's
Yeah, I'd
interesting.
love
But,
to.
but one of the elements that I think is surprising for folks is this idea. I call it connection, but I basically tell people, like, you have to build these social skills, because it's going to be more valuable in the future in this world. It's in some ways it's contradiction. I'm like, you have to go master these AI tools, like, and become a wicked conductor of these things, but you also need to be able to connect with people at a deep personal level, because those people are going to have a superpower. Because there are going to be so many that just fall back on the systems are doing it for me. I don't need to talk to anybody. I see that in some of I've got young daughters. I see that in some of their friends and some of the young folks I interact with. I'm like, you don't know how to talk to people. Like, you are so uncomfortable. I was like, you're good. What'd you say? Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that
Well,
in life.
God bless you. I'm not in the convincing business,
Yeah,
but I am in the lift you up, give you a hand up
yeah,
business. And the one thing that I recognize, again, people sit there and say, Scott, how have you sold millions and millions and millions of dollars from stage? It's easy. You build trust, you share a message that people can embrace,
hmm,
you provide a potential solution to their challenges, and you ask them to take advantage of it.
yeah,
There it is. It's 4 steps, right? It's what I coach all day long is, but people miss the first step. The first step is trust.
yeah,
You've got to, people go, well, I don't like people. It's so funny. I was training this Salesforce, and this guy walked up and he says, you don't seem to understand. I just don't like people. I said, my suggestion, change jobs.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he goes, what do you mean? I said, salespeople cannot not like people.
yeah,
That's not the way it
yeah,
works.
yeah.
You inherently, you have to kind of like people.
Yes,
You gotta like having conversations, and it's funny. It's why I do my my latest book is 104 tips to sell more with less effort. And somebody said, well, why did you name it that? And I said, because 104 tips to sell less with more effort wouldn't sell, you know? And they're like, oh, I get it. No, there's nothing tricky about this. This is called being human. It's having some fun. It's being
wait, Scott,
somebody.
why'd you pick 104? I have to ask, because I have a special 104 in my life that I have put in. So what's your
When I
100?
originally wrote it, I was gonna write and distribute 2 tips a week.
Nice. Got it. Okay. Very
I was
nice.
gonna have a Monday and a Thursday tip. And then it was so funny. So I actually, when I first wrote it and first created it that way, I started distributing them at 2 a week, and people are like, "No, I want the rest." Can you
Yeah.
put it?
Okay. I love it. So I'll share. This is a complete tangent, but it's kind of
No,
fun.
it's good.
Uh, so so my knock on wood, my mother, her parents I mean, my mother's 88 and still walks like 3,000 steps, so she's super healthy. Had grandparents live to like, their mid 90s, brother. So very good DNA in the family. And I'm like, well, I should at least inherit that, plus get the benefit of medicine. So I'm like, I was thinking about as I was, estate planning, all that stuff. Like, how long should I plan, right? Financially. And I came up with 104 as the arbitrary number. And it was based on, this is sounds stupid, but it was based on the inversion of my name, because I'm Victor. So VIC and then CIV is Roman numeral 104. So I was like, well, how cool would that be, like on a tombstone, to have like VIC, CIV, like this little Roman numeral palindrome. Um, so
That's
anyway,
cool.
so I am putting here's the crazy thought. I am putting markers for that, psychological markers, because there is a clear signal that says if you have the right psychological incentive,
Mhm.
you will live longer, right? And people know this, right? If you ever seen the movie The Notebook, it's just a known fact, right? If you're a married couple and your spouse dies, like the conditional death rate is so high. And so if you have a reason to live longer, you will actually live longer. And so I was like, well, what if I like bought my tombstone now and it said like VCIV, and is it going to force me to power? And I'm like, I think it's going to, probably small single digit percentage differences, but I bet it'll make a difference. So anyway, I've got
A positive difference is a positive difference, right?
that's right. So I
Well,
have 104 scattered lots of random places in my life, which is so odd,
that's
but
cool.
funny.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. I've had people say, again, you've done all these events, you've done a lot, and I have. I've been blessed. I'm a I'm an action taker. If there's any secret, I mean, I lived through a near death experience. The doctors in intensive care were saying, we just don't understand why you're alive. I said, well, sorry to disappoint you. I've always been an overachiever. I lived, and they said, you're kind of a smartass. And I said, well, no, not really. But we just don't understand why you're alive. I said, I got it all figured out. And they said, "What's that?" I said, "It's obvious. It's God's grace, mercy, and favor on my life." They said, "Well, that's as good an answer as we got," and they discharged me. So the point is that I mean, I've had people say actually Saturday was my birthday, and people say, "Why are
Oh, wait,
you?"
this last
Well,
Saturday?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But the the I've had people say, "Well, why don't you just go chill and go do?" I said, "Why would you?" I've written checks to 19 mentors across my career. And I said the same thing to each and every one of them when I started. Give me everything you got. My commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my students and my clients. I'll become an extension of you.
Mhm.
Why would I take the years of experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything that you've been through, and then say, I'm going to go just hang out?
Yep, yep.
I don't get that portion
Yeah,
of
I
it.
agree.
It's like, and again, I've had it's so funny because I think the greatest combination we can probably have on the planet right now is a boomer with a millennial. I think you've got the
Mm.
knowledge, the expertise, the experience, the
Yeah, yeah.
wisdom of the boomer with the energy, the excitement, the
Yep.
enthusiasm, the drive of a millennial. And I think when you put them together, it's an unstoppable
Yeah, yeah, I
combination.
love that. That's a great
And
visual.
yet we have so many people saying, that's not the way we do it anymore." Why? You want me to read your AI driven email that, dude, I have known you for 10 years. You have never said that word
Yeah,
ever in 10
yeah.
years. You're all of a sudden your whole positioning, your messaging, your everything is everything other than you.
Yep, yep.
Really? And I think it's interesting. I think there's almost a little bit of backlash. I don't know if it's backlash. It is, I think, recognition by people who actually know how to do the stuff that
Mhm.
AI does that is going, man, people are getting lazy.
Yeah, yeah,
I use AI as well. The
yeah,
difference is that I use it in such a way to give me assimilate information that it would take me a long time to gather otherwise.
yep.
So I utilize some of its attributes, but then it has to be me. People say, how are you able to accomplish selling so much from stage and doing all that?" I'm a product of the product.
Mhm.
I You and I talked about that before we went on. I don't present anything. I don't support anything. I don't unless I use it myself,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't suggest anybody else does. I've never been one of those people who says, "Well, this is really great for you. Do you use it?" "No, but you should." That ain't gonna
Yeah,
happen, right?
yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where I was going with all that. The other thing that I found, and it's really cool, and it's the first time I've ever seen it, and so I really wanna dive into this. The 4th stakeholder framework,
Yeah.
I think, is fascinating, and I don't know how I've never seen it before. My apologies, but I've seen it now, so I wanna hear your take on who are the first 3
Yeah,
stakeholders, and then ultimately, what is the 4th stakeholder?
yeah. So, so I've been this is my 3rd CEO role, but I've been, a senior exec, big, medium, small companies. For the audience, idea of stakeholders is simple, which is like, look, your business serves some group. So stakeholders is just a synonym for group. Uh, when I grew up in way back, way back in the early 90s when I was in business school, I remember very explicitly a book because I went to a bit kind of one of the more well-known business schools over on the East Coast, and there was this line in the business book that said, "Your job as a CEO is to maximize shareholder return." Period. And that line stuck with me because right, I knew I wanted to go run businesses, and I left my undergraduate with that ethos because of course I didn't know any better. I didn't have mentors. So it's like, oh yeah, yeah. So CEOs just they make businesses that make money, and that's what they're supposed to do. I was lucky enough to be exposed at Microsoft. This was in the early days and they were going through their crazy run. It's actually cool to see them back up, along in the top tiers again, right? Kind of leading the market. But they, of course, had a shareholder ethos. They were one of the largest market cap company on the planet, but they had a wicked positive employee focus. And their ethos was simple. It's like, if we create an amazing environment for our employees, if we don't just like use them as a consumable resource, right, we will create a better company, a more resilient company. So it's like, there are two stakeholders at least. And then I went to a company called Intuit, which had historically just kicked Microsoft's butt over and over again. Small company, Microsoft's a small, and everyone was like, how the hell does this company beat Microsoft? And I wanted to learn. And their ethos, which still sticks with me to this day, was, oh, well, you've got this customer stakeholder. You've got to deliver for them. And if you just, they were also, of course, employee focused, and they were shareholder focused. So they had three stakeholders. And that, for the longest time, I thought that made sense. That's the world, right? Businesses should focus on these three. But, I don't know, 20 or so years ago, it became clear to me that there is a very important fourth stakeholder, which is the society at large, which is big and amorphous and messy. But businesses are effectively entities. They're almost like crazy people, powerful people that we're putting into the world. And it is the responsibility of the leaders, my strong point of view. Like, yes, you manage for your shareholders, right? You make money, you create great employee experiences, you create great customer experiences, but you are responsible for what is the role of that company in the society. And so what does that mean? Because this is where I see, and I crafted these articles to try to address this. All of my CEO brethren, I thought, were flailing at this because they would get 1,000 issues that the society cares about, and then they were paralyzed. I was like, oh, green's important. Global warming's important. Oh, wait, diversity's. Yeah. And so you had these laundry lists of thousands of things. And as a result, there's this crazy backlash, the wrong backlash. There's this backlash against trying to think about these societal impacts. I'm like, no, this is wrong. Like, you just need to operationalize that stakeholder, just like every other, those first three stakeholders. There are processes and priorities and methods for how you deal with them. And it was just clear, well, we just need to put that in place for the fourth stakeholder. So high level, that is I did that piece actually maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe more. But I basically wanted to create the operational playbook for CEOs of, like, this is how you operationalize society as a stakeholder. And that's what's out online on my site.
I think it's fascinating. Like I say, I came across it in my um, a big reason for relaunching Champions of Inspiration uh, podcast and everything around it was somebody asked me about my mission statement. And when I went off speaking over 25 years ago, I created my mission, which is to create a community of 1 million or more, maximizing them personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially, creating enough influence to cause over $100 million in charitable giving, and to positively impact 1 billion or more lives on the planet. Hasn't changed from the day that I wrote it the first time.
Love it.
Well, thank you. But again, one of the tenets that I teach is, if you build it, they will come, only works if they know you built it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to tell people what the mission is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of whatever those actions are, is, the desire to positively impact 1 billion or more lives. I was a guest on a podcast or a radio show, and the host said, Do you think you can really do that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Well, who do you think you are?" And I said, "Well, wait, time out. Zuckerberg touches that many people a day."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I don't know him, but I don't know that he's made any better than I am. He's
Mm-hmm.
had different opportunities. But what if I don't touch 1 billion or more lives? What if it's only 100 million? Would that be okay?" And I said, "Well, no, what if I'm not good at this and it's only 10 million? Would that be okay?" I said, "What if I'm bad at it and I only positively impact 1 million lives? Would that be okay?" He goes, "You're serious, aren't you?" And I said, "Why wouldn't I be?"
Yeah.
You know, God doesn't put things on your heart that he doesn't equip you to achieve.
Yeah.
Now, it may take time, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't achieved all that at this point. I've achieved decent parts of it.
Hmm.
But the point is, what if we were able to do that more consistently? And that's where the respect, honor, and dignity comes in. Again, we don't have to agree with each other. We don't even have to really like each other, but we should respect each other.
Yes.
We should honor the fact that you're a fellow human being
Yep.
walking on this planet, and when we do that, at least there's dignity, and if we have dignity on the planet, the world's a better place,
Yeah.
which then comes back to the trust
Yep.
that you're working to so diligently help affect. And I think, again, the whole AI thing becomes such a, um it is, uh, we're human. We take the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
We always have. We always will. AI has become the path of least resistance. The only
Hmm.
question is, do we succumb to the path of least resistance, or do we rise utilizing the tools
Yeah.
to become even better?
Yeah.
That becomes, I think, the question in it all.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. My prediction, uh, I think, yeah, this is solid from the very beginning, is there is so much of our communication that will be the easy path. People are going to take the easy path. I bucket this at a high level into what I call transactional communications,
Right.
right? There are actually things where it's actually okay to take the easy path, right? If you or I were trying to coordinate to find, the next time to have a discussion, like that doesn't have to be, that could be an AI or a bot or your assistant or whatever it is, right? Those things are fine, but in these moments that are
Right.
relational and trust building or secure, right there, you're going to either be in person or you have to be in a verified. It's very clear in my mind, like it has to be proactively verified, or else you're just going to be like, I can't, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. So yeah, I think that's the world we move into. And yeah, and I hope, in a weird way, I hope there is a backlash against all the trends, the positive, the optimistic view of this world, which in some ways I share, is like, if AI systems and the easy path can take all that transactional overhead and shrink it down from what is probably 80% of our time today down to 10%, that, oh, maybe we can fill it with face-to-face meaningful connections, right, and
Yeah.
interactions, right? That would be a beautiful world if it happens.
I I
It's an
agree with you
unknown. It's an
wholeheartedly
unknown.
there. That
So
would be so awesome to take the time savings and actually spend that time with your spouse, with your kids, with
yeah.
family, with friends, and get back into that side of it. I think that's one of the things as you become more mature, that's code word for older. When you become more mature, all of a sudden you start to recognize that you wanna have more of those times,
Yes.
and there's ultimately probably less of those times available,
Hmm.
but you wanna have more of them, and you
Yeah.
tend to recognize them far too late.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big part of, again, doing these podcasts and helping people understand that wherever you are today is perfect, because you can't change it anyway. So you might as well just
Hmm.
accept it as perfect. And in fact, a meme I posted the other day through Champions of Inspiration is everything that happens in life is perfect. Dot, dot, dot. Once time passes and knowledge is gained, right?
Hmm.
It all, right. But I mean, I think that that's we're at such a cool point. And so again, I think that's what Emovid is such an amazing tool at doing that, nurturing the relationships, so increasing the relationships, reducing the amount of time that it takes to
Hmm.
accomplish that,
Yes.
and in doing so, it's kind of a double double on your efficiency
Hmm.
in a really good way, that the encouragement is then take that for the advantage of the 4th stakeholder,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. That's
Move
right.
it back into the world, and the world is also your family, by the way, your
Yeah.
spouse and your
Yeah.
kids and everybody
Yeah,
else.
one in one of the sub articles in my fourth stakeholder frame, there's a very simple, there's a bunch of the different ways that a company can create positive ripples in the society, right? And so one is simply, are you thinking creative about your business ecosystem so that not that you're going to donate a fraction of your money to a nonprofit, which is wonderful. That's fine, but like these businesses have much bigger levers. And so if you think creatively about what business you're building, like just as your business grows, you have positive impact. And Emovid, again, Emovid's like a case study for a stakeholder because, I went through this, I've gone through this logic, right? When as a co-founder, I'm like, well, what happens in the limit of success of Emovid? What if billions of people are using a system like ours to have verified, authentic, human, emotive connection that's trusted and not AI? I'm like, is that like what bad things can happen? Is that good or bad? I'm just like, oh no, no, it's good. They save time, right? They have trust connection, right? They're building better, they're getting the dopamine hit of relationship. They're learning how to be better speakers. Here's a crazy one. I am a way better speaker after using a Movid a lot because it forces you to be concise. And so there's all these positive, what I call first order effects. The only negative second order effect that I could come up with, and I do think about this, is if it got so easy and convenient, would it potentially suck people away from in-person, face-to-face interactions, which are superior, right? I would rather have somebody spend time in person than off. And so that's something like literally at scale, we'll watch that. We'll be like, hey, are we actually making this so easy that we're actually reducing face-to-face time? And if we were, and this is where my framework comes in, as a CEO, I'd be like, this is a problem. Like, I don't care if we're making more money. Like, we can't build a system, right, that is starting to degrade face-to-face interactions. So let's go figure out, right, how we keep that in balance.
I,
That's
I
the kind of societal thinking that very few CEOs I see are thinking that way because they're like, oh,
no,
of course, of course, I'm going to chase this to maximum profit, right?
I respect you so big for that thought because I think it's absolutely amazing when to sit and then think about how do we bring the human back into human?
Yeah,
How do we bring face to face, belly to belly,
yeah.
that we're actually in the same room and actually conducting it. So it's absolutely amazing. Victor, this has been fabulous.
Oh, Scott, no, such a pleasure, such a treat,
You
and
know,
happy birthday, happy birthday.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, the How about one? There, you've shared so many nuggets, and so much wisdom throughout this. You're probably tapped out, but just in case you're not, how about one last piece of wisdom for our audience?
I think I'll go back to this presentation that I gave again to these schools because it had four kind of key thoughts, and um, there was an obvious one, which is of course you need to be proficient with the tools. But the second one, there's four C's that they have come up with as a simple framework. The second C is what I call conductor, and so that's I think worth sharing. In this new world of AI, let me take a step back. When I was a young kid and I joined Microsoft was my first job. I started as an individual contributor, right, learning skills, almost like an apprenticeship. And then after 2 years, I became a manager, I had my first employee, right, and I started to learn the messiness of trying to manage somebody who was not me, who actually had more skills than me in a lot of areas. Right? I was just this young punk kid. This person had been there a long time. And as I grew in my tenure and experience, of course, I got larger and larger organizations. Uh, that used to be a rare thing, right? It's like, hey, like to be a manager and a leader. The crazy thing is in an agentic world, which we're on the doorstep of it. You don't even you could be a high school kid, and you now have resources at your disposal that are the world experts in many things, and you can tell them to do stuff, right? So you can start conducting resources now at a young age, way smarter. These resources are way smarter than you, right? And so that what I call conducting skill is going to be one of the most important in the future world. And so that's one thing that I beat the drum of, like, you have to learn how to be. Everyone almost becomes like a little mini CEO of infinite resources, right? It's a crazy exciting world from that perspective, but none of our systems are built for that. Like our educational systems, our job structures, and people aren't thinking of that necessarily, right, on their day to day. So that'd be my one nugget, which is like start coming up with your path to be a conductor of these
Love that.
agentic resources.
Love that so much. That is so awesome. Victor, this has been fabulous. I know the audience will love every bit of it, and we'll make sure that we connect them with Emovid to make sure that they have the best of all worlds here. Thank you so much for joining me here. And
No,
thank
Scott,
you.
my pleasure.
And thank you all for joining us here for Champions of Inspiration. We'll see you again soon. God bless.